The Galactic Council chamber stretched impossibly high, its crystal walls refracting starlight into prismatic patterns across the vast amphitheater. Ambassador Marcus Reynolds stood alone on the central platform, a solitary human figure dwarfed by the immense scale of the chamber. Above and around him, thousands of alien representatives from across the Milky Way watched from their designated platforms. The murmurs and clicks of their disapproval echoed through the massive space. Marcus fought to keep his breathing steady. Every eye, optical sensor, and sensory appendage was fixed on him. 6 months ago, humanity had received their first contact from the Galactic Council, not with welcome, but with a summons to stand trial. No one on Earth had even known such an organization existed until their massive ships appeared in orbit. The 7 Supreme Counselors, each representing the oldest spacefaring civilizations, glared down from their elevated dais. Their species were so different from each other that it was hard to find any common physical trait. Some were insectoid, others amorphous. One appeared to be composed of living crystal. Yet all shared one thing, an unmistakable expression of disdain. Humanity stands accused of genetic abomination, announced High Counselor Vexmore, his translucent tentacles rippling with bioluminescent patterns that translated to extreme displeasure in his species' emotional language. Your species has been observed modifying your own genetic code, integrating technological components with biological systems, and worst of all, displaying dangerous evolutionary adaptability that threatens galactic stability. A wave of angry chittering swept through the chamber. Marcus had been briefed on what to expect, but the hostility radiating from every corner was still shocking. He'd been sent as Earth's final diplomatic effort after months of escalating tensions. "We have monitored your civilization since your first radio transmissions," continued Counselor Nixara, her insectoid mandibles clicking rhythmically. Her 8 compound eyes shimmered with an iridescent glow that humans had learned indicated extreme agitation. "In mere centuries, you have advanced from primitive combustion engines to rudimentary faster-than-light travel. No species in recorded history has evolved technological capabilities at such an alarming rate." The central holographic display activated, projecting images that floated in the air between Marcus and the Council. It showed footage of human medical procedures, heart transplants, neural implant surgeries, and military exoskeleton tests. "The Council has debated your case thoroughly," said Counselor Threll, whose crystalline body structure refracted light with each movement. "We have examined your history of warfare, your reckless exploitation of your home planet's resources, and your dangerous curiosity. Your species represents an unacceptable risk to the established order." A 4th counselor, whose name Marcus couldn't pronounce, floated forward. Its body was a swirling mass of gas contained within a force field. "We have seen this pattern before. Species that advance too quickly inevitably destroy themselves, and often take others with them. The regulations that govern technological development exist for the protection of all." The eldest counselor, Zolthran, raised a withered limb for silence. The oldest living being in known space, rumored to have personally witnessed over 10,000 years of galactic history, leaned forward on his platform. His species resembled ancient reptiles with scaled skin that had faded to a pale white with extreme age. "The Council has reached its verdict," he announced, his voice surprisingly soft yet carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "By unanimous decision, humanity is declared an existential threat to galactic peace. You are hereby sentenced to immediate quarantine, followed by systematic neutralization of all human settlements beyond your home planet. Earth will be preserved as a natural reserve, but human civilization must be dismantled." A deafening silence fell over the chamber. Marcus had been prepared for this outcome. Earth's intelligence services had intercepted enough communications to predict the verdict weeks ago. What the Council didn't know was that humanity had been preparing their response for months. "With respect, counselors," Marcus spoke, his voice unexpectedly calm and amplified by the chamber's acoustic design, "I must inform you that this action constitutes a declaration of war against humanity." Gasps and sounds of shock rippled through the assembly. No species had dared to challenge a council verdict in living memory. "War?" Nixara's mandibles clacked in what might have been amusement. "Your species possesses barely 100 interstellar vessels. The Council commands the combined forces of 5,000 civilizations." Marcus reached into his pocket and withdrew a small metallic sphere. Immediately, guards from 6 different species moved forward, weapons raised. This isn't a weapon, Marcus said, raising his hand. It's simply a communication device. He activated the sphere, which projected a holographic display of its own. The images showed humans in various locations throughout Council space, working alongside alien allies in military installations, financial centers, and communication hubs. What you're seeing is happening right now, Marcus explained. While you've been deliberating our fate, human operatives have infiltrated key positions throughout your military command structures, economic systems, and communication networks. The council members stared in disbelief at the footage. It showed humans who had somehow bypassed the strict quarantine that had been placed around Earth when the trial began. We anticipated your judgment, Marcus continued. In fact, we counted on it. You see, counselors, when your observation ships first entered our solar system, they didn't find us, we found them. We've known about the council for over 15 years. Alarm spread through the chamber as the implications became clear. You fear our adaptability? You should. Because while you were watching us, we were learning about you. All of you. Marcus smiled thinly. And we've made arrangements. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the council chamber. Emergency reports flooded in from across the galaxy, appearing as urgent holographic notifications before each of the counselors. Impossible, hissed Vexmore, his tentacles flashing with patterns indicating shock and disbelief. What you're experiencing is a coordinated action across 37 key council systems, Marcus explained calmly. Nothing destructive yet. Just a demonstration of our reach. We've also taken the liberty of accessing your secure archives. This statement caused visible distress among the counselors, who exchanged worried glances. The council has existed for 12,000 years, Marcus continued. In that time, you've systematically suppressed technological development in hundreds of civilizations. You've genetically tampered with thousands of species to limit their potential, all to maintain your control. Counselor Zolthron's ancient eyes narrowed. How could you possibly know this? We had help, Marcus said simply, from the species you've subjugated, the ones you deemed safe because they appeared to accept their place. They've been watching and waiting for someone like us, someone who could challenge you. More emergency alerts appeared before the council. Critical systems throughout their territory were experiencing simultaneous disruptions. This isn't a plea for mercy, Marcus said, his confidence growing as the chaos unfolded. It's a negotiation. Reverse your decision or discover just how adaptable humans truly are. High Counselor Vexmore's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly, a sign of internal communication with the other counselors. After a moment, he spoke. You are making a grave mistake, human. Even if you have infiltrated some of our systems, you cannot stand against the full might of the council. Perhaps not, Marcus agreed. But we can ensure that your victory costs you everything you've built over millennia. The data we've uncovered about your systematic suppression of other species is being prepared for distribution to every civilization under your control. The council chamber erupted into chaos as representatives from hundreds of worlds began demanding explanations. Species that had been loyal to the council for thousands of years were suddenly questioning everything they had been told. Marcus stood firm amid the growing storm. Earth's survival hung in the balance, but for the first time since the trial began, he felt something close to hope. The Galactic Council had declared war on humanity without understanding what they were truly facing, and that might just be their greatest mistake. As Council security forces moved to surround him, Marcus activated a hidden communication device in his ear. Phase 2, he whispered. Begin now. Admiral Ilara Donovan stood at the command center of Earth's orbital defense platform Aegis, watching real-time tactical displays as the Galactic Council's enforcement fleets mobilized. At the edges of Sol system, the massive alien armada dwarfed humanity's defensive capabilities by orders of magnitude over 2,000 warships against Earth's modest fleet of 127 vessels. They're calling our bluff, she said to her executive officer, Commander Jackson, a tall man with dark skin and steady hands that never seemed to tremble even now. Are we bluffing? He asked, studying the incoming vessels with practiced calm. Ilara smiled grimly. Not entirely. The tactical display showed the Council Armada organizing into attack formations. Their ships were diverse in design, some organic-looking, others geometric and crystalline. a few appearing to be made of pure energy contained within force fields, but all bristling with weapons technologies far beyond Earth's current capabilities. Status of Project Handshake? Ilara asked. Fully operational, replied Jackson. Our allies have confirmed their positions. For nearly a decade, humanity had been secretly establishing alliances with marginalized species across the galaxy, civilizations subjugated or exploited by the Council's rigid hierarchy. The Viridians, a telepathic species deemed too dangerous for full Council membership. The biomechanical Taurans, restricted from expanding because their technology resembled forbidden cybernetics, and dozens of others who had suffered under the Council's supposed protection. On a secure quantum channel, Ilara contacted Ambassador Reynolds, now detained in a luxurious but heavily guarded diplomatic suite on the Council homeworld. They've deployed their armada, Marcus. Phase 2 is operational. The ambassador's holographic image flickered slightly, a sign of the Council's attempts to jam their communications. Good. They've dismissed my warnings as empty threats. Their arrogance is our advantage. The Council fleet will reach Earth in 72 hours, Ilara informed him. Are you secure? Marcus nodded. Their security is focused outward. They never considered that someone might infiltrate from within. Our team is in position at the Central Archives. The communication ended as Council jamming intensified. Ilara turned to her crew. Begin dispersal pattern Omega. All ships to emergency positions. Throughout Council space, coordinated disruptions began according to the carefully orchestrated plan. Key military installations experienced mysterious power fluctuations. Navigation beacons transmitted subtly corrupted data. Supply shipments were rerouted or delayed by apparent clerical errors. Nothing catastrophic, just enough discord to create uncertainty and confusion within the rigid Council hierarchy. Meanwhile, within the heart of the Council's most secure data repository on their homeworld, Professor Dante Okafor, Earth's most brilliant quantum physicist, worked alongside a small team of alien allies. They had spent years gaining access to this facility through a complex web of false identities and manufactured credentials. The Central Archives was a massive structure built into the core of a small moon, orbiting the Council homeworld. Its walls were lined with quantum storage devices, containing the accumulated knowledge of 12,000 years of galactic history, including secrets never revealed to the general population. The Council believes their quantum encryption is unbreakable, Dante explained to Mira, a young Viridian analyst whose telepathic abilities let her process information at extraordinary speeds. Her translucent skin showed the neural pathways of her brain glowing with activity, but they never considered that mathematics might work differently in certain pockets of subspace. They were implementing what humanity had codenamed Protocol Prometheus at not a virus or conventional cyber attack, but a fundamental reinterpretation of the quantum principles upon which all Council communication systems operated. I still don't understand how this works, admitted Trill, a small reptilian Nexian whose six-fingered hands moved with incredible precision across the control interfaces. It doesn't matter, Dante replied. The Council won't understand it either. That's the point. As Dante activated the protocol, Mira gasped, her telepathic senses overwhelmed by the cascading changes rippling through the network. It's working, she whispered. Every communication they send now carries our embedded message. Across the galaxy, Council military commanders received their orders to advance on Earth. But alongside these official communications, a shadow message appeared. The Council has lied to you for centuries. Evidence attached. Each message contained personalized revelations about how that specific commander's species had been manipulated by the Council elite. Back on the Aegis, Ilara received confirmation of Protocol Prometheus's successful deployment. Now we see who among them values truth over loyalty, she said, watching as dozens of Council vessels began breaking formation, their commanders demanding explanations from their superiors. The Council's unified front was beginning to fracture from within. In his detention suite, Ambassador Marcus Reynolds received a visitor, High Counselor Vexmore himself, his tentacles now pulsing with patterns indicating extreme agitation. What have you done? The counselor demanded, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotions in his bioluminescent display. Exactly what I said we would do, Marcus replied calmly. We've begun revealing the truth. You understand nothing, Vexmore's tentacles lashed angrily. The order we maintain preserves peace across thousands of worlds. Without it, the galaxy would descend into chaos. Peace through suppression isn't peace at all, Marcus countered. It's just control. Your council has systematically stunted the development of hundreds of civilizations. You've genetically modified species without their knowledge to make them more compliant. You've deliberately restricted technology that could have saved billions of lives. For the greater good, Vexmore insisted. You've seen your own history. When species advance too quickly, they self-destruct. We've prevented countless civilizations from following that path. Marcus stood and walked to the window, looking out at the gleaming cityscape of the council capital. That wasn't your decision to make. Every species has the right to chart their own course, even if that means making mistakes. Naive. Vexmore's colors shifted to a deep blue, indicating what humans had learned was contempt. Your perspective is limited by your short lifespans. Some of us have witnessed entire civilizations rise and fall. We understand the patterns, and yet you fear us, Marcus observed. A species you consider primitive. Why is that, I wonder? The counselor didn't respond immediately. When he did, his voice was softer. Call off your attack. There's still time to negotiate terms that would preserve Earth. Marcus turned back to face him. We're not attacking you. We're simply telling the truth. If that's enough to threaten your entire system, perhaps it deserves to fall. On Earth, in a heavily secured underground facility beneath the Himalayan mountains, Dr. Liam Kazdan monitored a series of biometric displays. Each showed the real-time data from volunteer tests. Subjects, both human and alien, who were participating in what might be humanity's final hope if all other strategies failed. Neural pathways are stabilizing, reported his assistant Dr. Anya Petrova. Genetic expression is occurring exactly as predicted. Liam nodded, watching the data with intense concentration. And the cross-species compatibility? 17 successes out of 20 attempts, Anya replied. Better than we hoped. For decades, Council regulations had forbidden certain types of research throughout the galaxy, particularly anything involving rapid genetic adaptation or cross-species biological integration. Now Liam's team was discovering why. The potential was far greater than anyone had imagined. They've been lying to everyone, Liam said quietly, including themselves. The laboratory door opened, admitting General Kira Nomura, Earth Defense Force Commander. Her expression was grim. The Council fleet has accelerated, she announced. New arrival estimate is 48 hours. Liam looked up from his displays. We need more time. Time is something we don't have, Kira replied. How close are you to deployment? Liam gestured to the biometric displays. The process works, but wide-scale implementation would take weeks under normal circumstances. Then find abnormal circumstances, Kira said firmly, because in 48 hours we either have another option, or Earth becomes a nature preserve. As they spoke, a priority communication came through from Admiral Donovan on the Aegis. Protocol Prometheus is causing more disruption than anticipated, she reported, her holographic image flickering with interference. 27 Council vessels have broken formation and are broadcasting demands for explanation from the Council leadership. 14 more have gone silent, possibly defecting. Not enough, Kira said. No, Ilara agreed, but it's a start. The Council is dispatching a special envoy to Earth ahead of the main fleet. They're requesting direct negotiations. Kira's eyes narrowed. A delaying tactic? Possibly, Ilara admitted. Or they're more vulnerable than we thought. Across the galaxy, the carefully planted seeds of doubt continued to spread. Species that had been loyal to the Council for millennia were beginning to question. Worlds that had accepted their designated role in the galactic hierarchy were starting to wonder what they might have become without Council interference. And on the edges of Council space, civilizations that had long been... Dr. Liam Kazdan had always been considered eccentric even by the standards of the Adaptive Biology Division. His laboratory in the Himalayan facility was a chaotic mix of cutting-edge technology and improvised equipment. Holographic displays showed complex genetic structures rotating slowly in the air, while containment fields hummed with energy. As the Council fleet approached Earth, he was finally ready to reveal his decades-long secret project. To the newly formed Joint Species Defense Committee, a desperate alliance of human, military leaders and representatives from 17 alien species, who had defected to humanity's cause, the committee, Members filed into the observation room overlooking the main laboratory. Through the reinforced glass, they could see dozens of volunteers, human and alien alike, lying on medical platforms connected to a web of monitoring equipment. "What exactly are we looking at, Doctor?" asked General Kira Nomura, her patients visibly wearing thin as Earth's deadline approached. Liam activated a central display. "The Council fears human adaptability because they've engineered their own evolution to a standstill," he explained, showing comparative genetic sequences from various species. "For millennia, they've enforced genetic purity throughout the galaxy while secretly envying species that continued to evolve." He gestured toward the volunteers visible through the window. "What we're doing isn't genetic modification as the Council understands it. We're activating dormant evolutionary pathways that exist in all sentient species, pathways the Council deliberately suppressed through their medical treatments and beneficial therapies." General Nomura frowned, watching skeptically. "And this helps us how exactly?" "The Council fleet will reach Earth in less than 48 hours. Show them," Liam instructed his assistant, who nodded and spoke quietly into a communication device. In the laboratory below, a human woman named Alexis stood up from her platform. She appeared ordinary, medium height, dark hair pulled back in a practical style, wearing a simple medical gown. She moved to the center of the room where everyone could see her clearly. "Alexis has undergone the complete treatment," Liam explained. "She's been working with us for 3 years." The alien representatives watched with interest, particularly Qatar, the Toran delegate whose partly mechanical body hummed softly with each movement. Alexis closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then, to the astonishment of the observers, her skin began to ripple and change color, taking on the complex patterning of the reptilian Draconid commander standing nearby. Her body structure shifted subtly, not a complete transformation, but enough to alter her thermal signature, pheromone output, and biometric readings. "Targeted adaptive evolution," Liam explained as murmurs of amazement filled the observation room. "Not shape-shifting as depicted in fiction, but a conscious control over typically unconscious biological processes. The human genome contains remnants of every evolutionary branch our species ever explored, plus environmental adaptations we never fully expressed." He turned to face the committee directly. "Every sentient species has similar potential. The Council has been suppressing these abilities for millennia, through mandatory medical procedures they claimed were for disease prevention." Qatar stepped forward, the mechanical components in his body whirring softly. "And you've unlocked this in all 17 allied species?" he asked, his artificial voice modulator struggling to convey his emotion. "Each according to their own evolutionary history," Liam confirmed. "Your people, for instance, can now consciously control the integration between your organic and mechanical components, something the Council prevented through mandatory stabilization treatments." Down in the laboratory, Alexis had now shifted again, her body temperature dropping, dramatically, visible on the thermal imaging displays, adapting to Arctic conditions without any actual physical discomfort. "We're deploying this capability to our operatives throughout Council space," Liam continued. "By the time their fleet arrives, thousands of evolved agents will be in position." "To do what exactly?" asked General Nomura, still skeptical despite the impressive demonstration. "To become invisible to Council detection systems," Liam replied. "To bypass security measures based on biometric identification, to access restricted areas, and, most importantly, to spread the activation treatment to oppressed populations throughout Council space." Understanding dawned across the committee as tactical implications became clear. This wasn't just about defending Earth. It was about fundamentally changing the balance of power throughout the galaxy. General Nomura's expression hardened with new resolve. "How quickly can you scale up production of the treatment?" "That's the problem," Liam admitted. "Under normal circumstances, it would take weeks to produce enough for even a small percentage of Earth's population." "We don't have weeks," Nomura reminded him unnecessarily. "No," Liam agreed. "But we might not need to treat everyone. We just need to treat enough key individuals to ensure our survival until the wider plan succeeds." An alert chimed, and General Nomura checked her communication device. "The Council's advance envoy has entered orbit. They're requesting immediate talks." Buy us time, Liam urged. Every hour matters now. In high orbit around Earth, a sleek diplomatic vessel from the Galactic Council had taken position. Unlike the massive warships following behind it, this craft was designed for speed and stealth rather than combat. Its hull gleamed with an iridescent material that seemed to shift colors as it moved. Aboard the Earth Defense Force command ship Thermopylae, Admiral Ilara Donovan prepared to meet the Council envoy. She wore her formal uniform, medals gleaming on her chest, a calculated display of humanity's military tradition. "We're receiving their transmission," reported her communications officer. "On screen," Ilara ordered. The view screen activated, showing the interior of the Council vessel. Standing center frame was not an alien as expected, but a human man, Ambassador Thomas Reed, Earth's former representative to the galactic community, who had disappeared 6 months earlier. "Admiral Donovan," he greeted her, his voice oddly flat. "The Supreme Council has authorized me to negotiate terms for Earth's surrender." Ilara's expression remained neutral, though inwardly she felt a chill. Reed's eyes seemed empty, his posture unnaturally stiff. "Ambassador Reed, we had concerns about your well-being. It's good to see you alive." "I have been enlightened to the Council's wisdom," Reed replied in the same monotone. "They wish to avoid unnecessary loss of life. Earth will be preserved if you lay down your weapons immediately." "I'll need to discuss this with Earth's leadership," Ilara said carefully. "Perhaps you could come aboard the Thermopylae to present these terms in person?" A momentary flicker of something, fear, crossed Reed's face before his expression returned to blankness. "That would be inadvisable. The terms are non-negotiable. You have 12 hours to comply." The transmission ended abruptly. Ilara turned to her executive officer. "What do you make of that? Mind control?" Commander Jackson suggested. "Or some kind of biological reprogramming?" "Either way, they're desperate," Ilara concluded. "Contact Dr. Kazdan. I want to know if his treatment could reverse whatever they've done to Reed." Meanwhile, in the Council's central archives, Professor Dante Okafor and his team had made a breakthrough that changed everything. "I've found it," Dante announced, his eyes wide as he stared at the quantum data streaming across his display. The original genetic templates for every cataloged species in the galaxy, dating back to before the Council's manipulations began. Mira, the Viridian telepath, moved to his side, her neural pathways glowing brighter with excitement. "Can you transmit this data to Earth?" "Better than that," Dante replied. "I can integrate it directly into Protocol Prometheus. Every communication sent through Council networks will now carry not just the truth about their manipulations, but the key to reversing them. The Council will detect this," warned Trill, the Nexian technician. "They'll shut down the entire network." "Let them try," Dante said with grim satisfaction. "The protocol is self-replicating now. Even if they take down the primary network, the data will continue to spread through secondary channels." He initiated the transmission, watching as the vital genetic information began flowing through the galaxy's communication infrastructure. "It's done. Now we need to get back to our ship before—" Alarms blared throughout the archive facility. Security doors slammed shut and emergency containment fields activated. "Too late," Trill said, her reptilian features showing the equivalent of a grim smile. "Looks like we'll be implementing Plan B." Dante nodded, reaching into his pocket to withdraw a small device. "Good thing we came prepared." On Earth, all military forces were now on highest alert. The Council's main fleet was just 36 hours away, and scattered reports were coming in about an advance force already entering the outer solar system. In a secure conference room beneath the United Nations building in New York, world leaders gathered for what might be their final strategy session. "The evolved agents we've deployed throughout Council space are reporting successful infiltration," reported General Nomura, addressing the grim-faced assembly. "Dr. Kazdan's treatment is being distributed to resistance groups on 17 worlds." "Not enough," said the Russian president, shaking his head. "Even if every one of those worlds rebelled, they couldn't stand against the Council's main—" The Council's armada entered Earth's solar system with overwhelming force. Over 3,000 warships, including 5 planet-killer dreadnoughts capable of reducing Earth to molten slag. Their formation was perfect, a testament to millions of years of military doctrine refined across countless conflicts. Fleet Admiral Girak of the Council forces stood on the command deck of the flagship. "Eternal Dominion!" his forearms folded across his armored chest as he studied the tactical displays. His species, the Validarians, had helped found the Council 12,000 years ago, and their military precision was legendary. Curious, he noted, his compound eyes narrowing. There appears to be minimal defensive activity. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Krell, nodded. Our advanced scouts report the same. The humans have pulled back most of their fleet to orbit around their homeworld. A final defensive position, Jirak concluded. Logical but futile. The Armada continued its advance, passing the orbit of Neptune. According to their intelligence, humans had established mining operations and research stations throughout their solar system, all of which should have been visible to their sensors. But as they reached the orbit of Jupiter, confusion spread through the command deck. Admiral, reported the sensor officer, we're detecting no activity on the human outposts. No power signatures, no life signs, no communication emissions. Impossible, Jirak muttered. Our intelligence confirmed major installations on the moons Ganymede and Europa just days ago. He ordered a scout vessel to investigate. The smaller ship approached Europa, where humans had established their largest off-Earth colony, a settlement of over 50,000 people built beneath the icy surface. The physical structures are present, reported the scout captain, but there's no sign of recent activity. It appears to have been abandoned. Similar reports came in from throughout the system. Mars colonies, abandoned. Lunar bases, deserted. The massive shipyards of Titan that had been visible in their reconnaissance just days earlier, vanished without trace. As they approached Earth itself, the mystery deepened. The planet showed normal atmospheric patterns, expected continental formations and natural ocean currents, but no sign of advanced technology. No orbital platforms, no defense satellites, no industrial emissions. Sensors detected only what appeared to be pre-industrial activity on the surface, as if humanity had somehow regressed centuries overnight. Scan for quantum signatures, Jirak ordered, his voice tight with suspicion. They must have deployed some kind of masking technology, but the scans revealed nothing unusual. According to every sensor on the Council fleet, Earth had simply reverted. The advanced technological civilization they had come to neutralize apparently no longer existed. This is some kind of trick, Jirak declared, his armored exoskeleton clicking as he paced the command deck. No species can simply vanish their entire technological infrastructure. That's when the message came, broadcast on all frequencies, bypassing encryption as if it didn't exist. This is Director Oliver West of Earth's Quantum Displacement Agency, announced a calm human voice. Council fleet, you are currently targeting a decoy solar system. What you're seeing is real physical matter, but it exists in a displaced quantum state. The actual Earth, along with our entire defensive infrastructure, has been shifted 5 microseconds out of phase with normal spacetime. Admiral Jirak scoffed at such an absurd claim. Quantum displacement at planetary scale was theoretically impossible, according to all known physics. Even the Council's most advanced scientists had only achieved displacement of small objects under laboratory conditions. A bluff, he declared. Prepare the dreadnoughts for preliminary strikes on their lunar outposts. Once the humans see we cannot be deterred by tricks, they will. His orders were cut short as every ship in the Council fleet suddenly reported critical navigation system failures. Star positions appeared to shift. Gravitational readings fluctuated wildly. And on every tactical display throughout the Armada, thousands of new contacts appeared, seemingly materializing from nowhere. Earth's defense fleet had arrived, or more accurately, had been there all along, invisible until this moment. On the bridge of the EDF flagship Thermopylae, Fleet Commander Diana Rodriguez watched the confusion spread through the Council Armada. The quantum displacement technology, humanity's most closely guarded secret, had worked perfectly. Council vessels, power down your weapon systems immediately, she broadcast. This demonstration was a courtesy. Our next action will not be. To emphasize the point, one of Saturn's small moons suddenly vanished from the Council fleets. Sensors displaced into another quantum phase, leaving no doubt about the capability humanity now controlled. What the Council didn't know was that the technology was straining Earth's entire energy grid to maintain. The combined power output of every fusion reactor on the planet was being channeled into the quantum displacement field. Warning indicators on Commander. Rodriguez's display showed they had perhaps 30 minutes before systems would fail catastrophically. This was humanity's ultimate bluff. 8 eyes and single card played at precisely the right moment. No response from the Council flagship, reported her communications. Officer, show them we're serious, Rodriguez ordered. Tactical, target the smallest Council support vessel and displace it. Make sure their crews can be recovered safely. A beam of shimmering energy lanced out from one of Earth's defense platforms, striking a Council courier vessel. The ship seemed to waver, its outline blurring before it simply vanished. Council fleet, we have displaced that vessel 5 microseconds into quantum phase, Rodriguez announced. Its crew is unharmed but completely isolated from normal spacetime. We can return them, or we can send your entire fleet into quantum displacement where you will drift forever. Unable to interact with the rest of the universe, it was a tremendous exaggeration of their capabilities. The energy required to displace even a single Council dreadnought would burn out Earth's entire power grid instantly, but the Council had no way to know that. Across the Council fleet, ships began powering down weapons, not out of fear but confusion. Their tactical doctrine had no protocol for this situation. Admiral Girac was not so easily deterred. Launch probes to verify their claims, he ordered, and prepare a strike team. If the humans control this technology, we must capture it. Meanwhile, throughout Council space, the carefully placed operatives with newly evolved capabilities were systematically accessing and exposing the Council's greatest secret, the Founders' Archives, containing evidence that the 7 ruling species had deliberately engineered the suppression of evolutionary potential in all other species to maintain their dominance. On the Council homeworld, riots had broken out in 12 major cities as the truth spread through the population. Several Council military installations had been seized by their own security forces, who had turned against their commanders after learning how their species had been genetically manipulated for generations. In the Central Archives facility, Professor Dante Okafor and his team had been cornered by Council security forces, but not captured. The evolutionary treatments they had undergone allowed them to alter their biometric signatures enough to confuse the automated security systems, giving them precious time to complete their mission. Download complete, announced Trill, the Nexian technician. The entire genetic database has been transmitted. Dante nodded, checking the small device that would be their escape route. Quantum entanglement beacon is online. Earth can lock onto our position for emergency extraction. Mira, the Viridian telepath, suddenly stiffened. Security forces approaching, elite guards with SI shielding. They know we're here. Time to leave, Dante decided, activating the beacon. Mission accomplished. The 3 of them huddled together as the device began to hum with increasing intensity. A moment before the security forces burst through the door, their forms shimmered and vanished, transported across thousands of light years through the miracle of quantum entanglement, another technology the Council had declared impossible. Back in Earth's solar system, the standoff continued. Admiral Girac had received disturbing reports from the Council homeworld, reports of widespread unrest and systems failures that couldn't be explained by normal means. We are being attacked on multiple fronts, he realized. The humans have somehow coordinated this with dissidents throughout Council space. His tactical officer approached with more troubling news. Admiral, our probes have confirmed the human claims. Their quantum displacement technology appears to be genuine. Furthermore, we've detected unusual activity in our own fleet. Several ships are reporting crew members displaying unauthorized genetic variations. Girac's compound eyes widened with alarm. The evolutionary virus. It's spreading among our forces. It wasn't a virus in the conventional sense, but the Admiral wasn't entirely wrong. The genetic activation treatment developed by Dr. Kazdan had been weaponized, converted to an airborne form that could be transmitted through environmental systems. And Council ships, for all their advanced technology, still needed to circulate air for their crews to breathe. On Earth, in the underground Himalayan facility, Dr. Liam Kazdan monitored the data from Council ships affected by the airborne treatment. It's working faster than we anticipated, he told General Nomura. The suppressed evolutionary traits are expressed. The massive neutral diplomatic vessel Concordat drifted in Earth orbit, its crystalline hull reflecting the blue-green glow of the planet below. Built centuries ago to host peace negotiations between warring stellar empires, It had never been used for a gathering of this magnitude or importance. The Galactic Council Chamber had reconvened in emergency session, not on their homeworld, but here within sight of the world they had nearly destroyed. The 7 Supreme Councilors faced not just Ambassador Marcus Reynolds now, but representatives from over 200 species, including dozens who had never been granted council recognition. The chamber buzzed with tension. Many of the delegates were experiencing the first effects of evolutionary awakening, new sensory perceptions, enhanced cognitive abilities, and in some cases, physical transformations that had been suppressed by council interventions for generations. High Councilor Vexmore spoke first, his luminescence dimmed with what might have been humility, an emotion his species rarely displayed. The events of recent days have created an unprecedented situation. We propose an immediate cessation of hostilities against Earth and open negotiations for a new arrangement. Marcus Reynolds stood from his position at the Earth delegation table. Unlike the last time he had addressed the council, he was not alone. Behind him stood Admiral Ilara Donovan, Dr. Liam Kasdan, Professor Dante Okafor, and representatives from the 17 alien species that had allied with humanity. The time for the council to negotiate has passed, Marcus said, his voice firm but not triumphant. This gathering isn't a peace conference, it's a constitutional convention. The old order is finished. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many delegates had come expecting discussions about modifying council policies, not dismantling the entire system of governance that had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. You overreach? Human, warned Councilor Nixara, her mandibles clicking rapidly. The council has stood for millennia. One temporary setback does not end our authority. Your authority was built on lies, Marcus replied, and now those lies have been exposed. He nodded to Professor Okafor, who activated a holographic display in the center of the chamber. It showed data retrieved from the Founders' archives, proving that for over 12,000 years, the 7 founding species had systematically manipulated galactic civilization, suppressing technological and evolutionary development among younger species through a complex web of regulations, medical interventions, and cultural engineering. The evidence is irrefutable, Dante explained as the hologram displayed genetic sequences showing deliberate manipulations. Every time a species began to show signs of rapid advancement or evolutionary leaps, the council introduced medical treatments that they claimed were necessary for disease prevention or genetic stability. Dr. Liam Kasdan stepped forward, highlighting specific genetic markers in the display. These suppressors were tailored for each species, targeting different aspects of development. For some, cognitive enhancement was limited. For others, physical adaptations were stunted. In all cases, the modifications were made without knowledge or consent. Throughout the gathered representatives, visible changes could be seen as the evolutionary awakening spread. Some displayed subtle new features, enhanced sensory organs, adaptive skin patterns, more efficient respiratory systems, all emerging not through artificial modification, but through the expression of long-suppressed genetic potential. Councilor Zolthran, the eldest of the council members, slowly rose from his seat. His ancient eyes surveyed the chamber with what might have been sadness. "You do not understand what you have done," he said, his voice carrying despite its softness. "The restrictions were necessary. Evolution without guidance leads to chaos, to conflict and destruction. That was never your decision to make," Marcus replied. "Every sentient species has the right to determine its own path, to make its own mistakes and achieve its own triumphs." From the back of the chamber, Qatar, the Tauran representative, stepped forward. The mechanical components integrated with his organic body now moved with unprecedented smoothness. The interface between biology and technology, having evolved beyond the artificial limitations imposed by council regulations. "For generations, my people were told our cybernetic components could never fully integrate with our biological systems," he said, his voice resonating through the chamber. "We were forced to accept crude interfaces that caused pain and limited functionality. We were told it was a natural limitation." He extended an arm, demonstrating how the mechanical components now flowed seamlessly into his organic tissue. "This is what we should have been all along. This is what was taken from us." Similar testimonies came from representatives across the chamber, species after species describing the limitations that had been imposed upon them. the potential that had been stolen. Marcus allowed these accounts to continue for some time before raising his hand for attention. "Humanity doesn't seek to rule," he announced. "We propose a new form of galactic governance based on three principles: evolutionary freedom, technological transparency, and mutual defense." From the back of the chamber, Admiral Alara Donovan watched with quiet satisfaction. The quantum displacement technology had been a desperate gamble that had nearly failed, but it had bought enough. Time for the truth to spread beyond containment. The new alliance they were forming, informally, called Evolution's Children already, included most of the galaxy's younger spacefaring civilizations. Even several member species from the Council worlds had defected, unwilling to defend the lies of their leadership. Not everyone was convinced. Several delegates from worlds that had benefited from the Council's favoritism objected strongly, warning of chaos and conflict if the established order collapsed. As debate intensified, the 7 counselors conferred privately. Their power was rapidly slipping away, but they still commanded significant loyalty among older civilizations and controlled vast military resources, those that hadn't yet been affected by the evolutionary awakening. Finally, Zolthron, the eldest counselor, raised his hand for silence. As the chamber quieted, he spoke with the weight of his 10,000 years of experience. "You have destroyed the stability of 12,000 years," he said, fixing Marcus with his ancient gaze. "Chaos will follow." "Not chaos," corrected Professor Dante Okafor, who had joined the Earth delegation. "Evolution, the very force your people feared enough to suppress throughout the galaxy. Life adapts, changes, grows, and now the galaxy will too. And if that evolution leads to conflict," challenged Nixara, "if newly empowered species turn against each other, what then?" "Then we will face those challenges together," Marcus replied. "As equals, not as subjects. The Council claimed to prevent conflict by controlling development, but you merely postponed the inevitable while stealing the potential of countless generations." The debate continued for hours, sometimes becoming heated as delegates considered the implications of dismantling a system that had defined galactic society for millennia. Eventually, a compromise emerged. The Council would not be abolished immediately, but transformed into an advisory body with greatly reduced powers. A new galactic assembly would be established, with equal representation for all spacefaring civilizations regardless of their technological level or evolutionary status. Most importantly, the practice of evolutionary and technological suppression would end immediately. The genetic templates retrieved from the Founders' archives would be made available to all species, allowing them to understand and reclaim what had been taken from them. On the observation deck above the chamber, Director Oliver West stood with General Kira Nomura, watching the proceedings. "They declared war on the wrong species," Nomura remarked. "No," Oliver replied thoughtfully. "They declared war on exactly the right species, the one that would finally break their control. Perhaps they always knew this day would come. Perhaps that's why they feared us from the beginning." "What happens now?" Nomura asked. "When hundreds of species suddenly gain abilities and technologies they never had before?" "Change," Oliver said simply. "Rapid, unpredictable change. Some of it will be difficult. Some species will misuse their new potential, just as the Council feared. But suppression was never the answer. Below, the gathering of civilizations began drafting the framework for a new galactic order, not built on suppression and control, but on the principle that had always defined humanity's greatest strength: the capacity to adapt, to change, and to evolve. 3 months later, Ambassador Marcus Reynolds stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Evolutionary Research Center in orbit around Earth. The massive facility served as both a medical center for species recovering from Council suppressions and a collaborative research hub where scientists from across the galaxy could share knowledge freely for the first time. Admiral Alara Donovan joined him, looking out at the spectacular view of Earth below and the stars beyond. "The Council remnants are making trouble in the Orion Spur," she reported. "They've convinced 4 systems to reject the new galactic assembly." "It was inevitable," Marcus replied. 12,000 years of control doesn't end without resistance. Should we be concerned? Marcus considered this. Monitor the situation, but don't intervene unless absolutely necessary. Each civilization needs to make its own choice that